Good evening and welcome to this week's episode of Coach's Corner. I am your host, Dwayne Dwyer, go by the Mindset Coach. And as always, we look forward to these conversations that we're going to have. I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be enlightening. I think we're going to share a lot of things on this evening, and I'm looking forward to the conversation. Listen, I want to thank you guys for being here, regardless of where you are, whether you're on YouTube, Instagram, whether you're on LinkedIn or whether you're on Facebook. It doesn't really matter. Just get the comment section and just say hi. That way we can give you your flowers while you're here. We want to make sure that you know that we appreciate you being here. You can be anyplace else, but you chose to be here with us this evening, and we do not take that lightly. So that being said, let me give a warm, hearty welcome to the rebirth of Nick D, Miss Robin Brower, Crystal Everett, His Divine Appointment, Atlas Keys, the Key Realty, and Miss Adrian Artist as well, and anybody else out there. Again, get in the comment section. Let us know that you're here so that we can, celebrate you while you're being for being here. So that said, I want to go ahead and get started because I think we're going to cover a lot. And as we cover a lot, I think you guys are going to gain a lot. So I do not want to take that from you. So let's begin. Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling confused, hurt, and somehow to blame, even though you know deep down you were the one who was wronged? If you've ever questioned your own memory, your feelings, or even your sanity after dealing with someone who just don't take responsibility, this episode is for you. That said, welcome to Coach's Corner. As you already know, my name is Dwayne Dwyer, go by the Mindset Coach, and today we're pulling back the curtain on one of the most powerful and painful forms of manipulation. You'll discover exactly how this tactic works and why your level of awareness and consciousness can keep you stuck or finally set you free. We'll anchor everything in God's word. That said, by the end of this episode, you will have the clarity and spiritual tools you need to stop falling for manipulation and take your first real steps toward forward with with our Mindset Academy framework. So that said, let us begin. Now, as we get started, I want to kind of give you a little story, if you will. So you guys just kind of humor me for a second. I want you to pay close attention to the story. And I think you really get a lot from that. So that said, couple, husband and wife, right? So the husband starts off this conversation like this: You spent it again, didn't you? I checked the account. $300 is gone, just like the last time. The wife, she quietly responds, I knew you'd react this way. I've been trying to talk to you about this for weeks. You never listen until it becomes a fight. The husband says, Don't do that. Don't make this about me not listening. This is about money, Sarah. The wife responds softly and calmly, I'm not making it about anything. I'm just saying, every time I try to come to you, you're either too busy or too tired. So, yes, I handle it. I had to. The husband responds, You had to. You had to spend $300 without telling me? That's not handling it, that's hiding it. The wife slowly responds with a slight pause before saying anything. I didn't hide it. I just didn't want another argument. You know how you get. I was protecting us. The husband says, Protecting us? From what? From me not knowing the truth about our own money? The wife quietly drops her head, eyes down. I just want peace, Marcus. That's all I've ever wanted, peace. The husband voice slightly raises at this point and says, I just want honesty. Is that too much to ask? Then the wife, with no response, she just slowly takes a deep sigh. Now, before we really unpack what's happening in this room, I want to do a check, a pulse of this room, your pulse. You just heard Marcus and Sarah go back and forth. Something kind of felt off. That said, I want to put a poll out there. I want you to trust your gut and be honest. Who do you instinctively feel was the one being manipulated? The poll is now live. Cast your vote now. There are no wrong answers here. I'll give you guys a second to respond, and I am excited to see how you're going to respond in regards to this situation. The options are number one, type in the number one if you think that Marcus was the primary manipulator. Type in number two if you think Sarah was the primary manipulator. Type in number three if you think both were manipulating each other, and type in number four if you have no earthly idea but feel you need more information. So give you guys a hot second to give your responses because this is going to be good. This is really good. And thank you guys for, chiming in and giving your response. Great. Appreciate that. You guys are awesome. If no one told you that yet today, I want to be the first person to tell you. You guys are amazing. You guys are awesome. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Give you guys a couple of more seconds to give your response. All right. I see you guys bringing them in. This is good. This is good. Keep them coming. Now, as we're getting ready to jump over on this conversation, I want you to look at these results. Isn't it interesting how differently we see the same situation? I am a bit surprised that we just didn't say Marcus was a primary manipulator. I'm gonna be honest with you. But it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. When we look at how we view things differently, that's literally the power of perception. And manipulation tends to find its way to thrive within that gap. So that said, whatever you voted for, hold that thought because by the time we're done today, you may see the story in a whole new light. So, exactly is happening beneath the surface of this conversation. Let's talk about it a particular tactic, a tactic that we call DARVO. And I promise you, once you see it, you will never unsee it in yourself or others. Okay. So, that being said, we're going to talk DARVO. Now, the acronym DARVO was coined by a psychologist whose name, hold on, there we go. All right. Okay, I'm hands off. The acronym DARVO was coined by a psychologist named Dr. Jennifer Freed. Now, DARVO has a particular, it actually has a particular, it is actually an acronym. And that acronym, if we bring that up, there we go. We'll move Jennifer out the way. Okay. The acronym stands for deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender. So, what does that really mean? Well, in all actuality, when we start looking at Darvo, it's like the Missy Elliott of conversation, right? What they do is they hear it, they flip the script, turn it around on you, and then make you the offender because they themselves become the victim. So, they first deny the offense, right? Then they attack you, reverse it, they become the victim and make you the offender. That's ultimately, in a nutshell, how Darvo works. Now, Darvo itself is a calculated manipulation tactic, and it is used by 72% of perpetrators when confronted, designed to make you doubt your reality and accept blame for someone else's wrongdoing. And conversely, with that, going along with that, gaslighting is the attempt of one person to override another's reality, said by Dr. Dervasula. Dervasula, yeah, I'm saying it like that. Okay. 72% of perpetrators use Darvo when confronted, leading to increased blame and psychological distress for victim. Now, let me give you a couple of situations here. I'm gonna give you like an infidelity example. So let's just say you've seen the messages, you've been talking to somebody else, and then that person will respond and say, "You're reading too much into it. We're just friends." Then next, they say, the same person says, "You're so insecure and controlling, you don't trust me." And then they'll also say, "I can't believe you went through my phone. You violated my privacy. I'm the one who should be upset." And the result is you end up apologizing for looking through their phone and them taking accountability for betrayal. Now, that's an example. It's a very plain Jane example, pardon the French, because there are a number of different things in there that we can, talk about. Yes, insecurity is in there. Yes, privacy is in there. All that other great stuff. That's a whole nother conversation. Okay. Another one is like a broken promise. You said you'd be home for dinner. Didn't show up. Oh, they respond, say, "I never said that." Then they turn around and say, "You're always nagging me. I can't do anything right." And then the third response they have is that you make me feel like a failure. I'm doing my best and it's never enough. And you end up confronting them instead of them apologizing for breaking their word. And then the last one is what we will call verbal abuse. So you yelled at me, called me names that hurt. Their response is, I didn't yell, you exaggerating. Then they'll turn around and say, you're too sensitive, you can't handle anything. And then the third is that you pushed me to that point. You made me react that way. And the result is that you end up taking responsibility for their abusive behavior. Now, again, these are very simplistic examples used just to kind of get you in the mindset of thinking how DARVO'd actually works. Now, if you've ever experienced that, if you've ever participated in something of that magnitude, been a victim of that, I want you to put in the comment section, I have, I am, whatever the case may be, right? Again, I know I'm asking a lot by you doing that, and I thank you in advance if you are bold enough to take that step. So if you've been in a situation like that, if you have experienced DARVO, by all means say, I have, I am. And again, thank you for sharing that. So yeah. So as we can see, this is something that is probably more plentiful than we most have ever realized was going on. In fact, we just didn't realize it was going on. So just want to kind of put that out there. So as we continue along the path of this conversation, now that you understand what DARVO is, you have the um, DARVO. If you can bring the overlay back up, please, because there's one thing I wanted to point out. Because there are three stages of DARVO that I missed. Okay, um, hold on one second, y'all. Three stages of DARVO that I missed. Okay, the first stage is deny, attack, and reverse. Okay. Stage two is victim, and stage three becomes offender. That's ultimately how it works. So, this one right here, as you heard in the examples, it tends to happen back to back to back. This is where traction is gained. This is where reverse is actually seen to where they know they can now become the victim. And now you at that point accept the fact of being the offender in that situation. So that is how the three stages work together. And again, it's just one of those awareness things. Now, for those of you who've experienced it, who either were the victim or the offender, a question that I would ask is like, how does it feel when someone denies your lived experience and what happens to your sense of self over time? And I can share from this perspective is almost like chopping down a tree, if you will, right? You know, you're not going to chop down that tree with one swing, but each chop at that tree gets it closer to falling. And so that's kind of like what happens in these scenarios, right? In these situations, it's like the more it happens to you, it's almost like you become smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, ultimately getting to the point too where you have zero voice whatsoever in that situation. Or ultimately it gets to the point to where it's like whatever they say, that's what I'm gonna go with. And it's like losing a sense of self to where, and this is the assumption that I had a sense of self prior to. So you end up losing a sense of self over time simply because at the end of the day you feel like you're not an active participant in this relationship. Whatever it is I say, whatever it is I do, whatever it is that I comment on without this person's approval, without their knowledge, whatever the case may be, it literally makes me feel absent and obsolete. And so that said, I want everybody to kind of think in their mind, like, why do you think Darvo is so effective at making victims question their own sanity? And I think at the end of the day, when you really think into it, it almost puts you to the place to where like a very calculated. It's some people know it. I'll say it this way. Some people know that this is a tactic. Some people are taught this tactic. Some people may have even gone as far as studying this tactic. But at the end of the day, whether it's learned actively or passively, regardless of the way, regardless of it, it is a well calculated practice. Now, keep in mind, manipulation is all about gaining control or having power over an individual. So at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, certain people may feel as though they're powerless when I don't know, let's go back to the whole infidelity thing. When the phone is discovered and conversation going back and forth between two different people, one person who they should not have been talking to, whatever the case may be. And it's like at that point they feel powerless because they were caught. It's almost like go and commit a crime and you got caught red-handed. So it's like you really can't lean on your morals at that point. The only thing that's left is to make it to be either an innocent act or make it to be that person's fault because they had no business going through their stuff. Even though that part might be true, but at this point, that's not the opportunity for you to have that conversation. So it's a well thought out tactical move against a person. Like really, you're not supposed to be doing that against somebody that you're in a relationship with. It's like you do those against adversaries, and your spouse, your mate, should not be your adversary. So I want everybody to kind of take that in mind and digest it. It's just like that goofy. I think everybody seen that movie called Gaslighting. I think that was the name of it. It's about a husband and a wife, and he was exercising, taking steroids, things of that nature, and it got to the point to where she became very small in that relationship. So now it's like we see that as being a thing in that movie, if you've ever seen it. And I think it's a Lifetime movie, if I'm being honest. You see that in a thing to where these people have gotten to the point to where the power dynamic in that relationship is so far off center that it's not even funny. So I just believe when we really stop and think about it, it brings a lot of things to question. Now, it's easy to see on one side of the equation being a victim. Why it's a bad thing? Why should another person not? I have to get the name of that movie and get it to you. I just can't remember right now, but the movie is about gaslighting. And I promise you, if you Google what is the name of the gaslighting movie, it'll pop right up. Um, but when you look at this thing, Darvo, when you look at the tactical ploy that is used against your mate, your partner to get a decisive advantage, kind of flipping the script on them, making it their fault because they either did a thing or discovered a thing or whatever that looks like, or, some type of emotional or psychological manipulation that is actually being employed. It's easy to come to an understanding that the victim is obviously the victim in that scenario. It's like, oh my God, what just happened? Like, I just simply went to you with a problem, and now the problem has become me. The problem has become all about me, what I'm doing, what I'm not doing, whatever that looks like. And it's frustrating. It's dangerous. But what if, and I ask this in as kind of a way that I can. What if it wasn't that way? What if self manipulation and false identity is really the problem? I want everybody to think about that. What does it mean to manipulate self? And what does it mean to take that manipulation and create a false identity? And so that takes me to talking point number two. Talking point number two is all about self manipulation and false identity when the abuser's voice becomes your own. Now, as you're seeing that, I'm imagining what you're thinking. You're imagining that you be in a relationship so long to where this person talks down to you, and then you adopt that and you start talking down to yourself, right? So that's a way of looking at it. But what if you have manipulated yourself to such a degree to create the false identity, and this person that's talking to you is only talking to you about what they see? So they're having objective conversation with you based upon the behavior that they've observed, and your response is to hold firm to your false identity based upon your own manipulative tactics. Is that a form of Darvo? What do you guys think? Do you believe that that's a form of Darvo? You have manipulated yourself to believe that you're this individual, but you have no evidence to support the fact that you're this individual. And the only thing your mate, your partner, your husband, your wife, or whatever is pointing out to you is what they're observing. Is that an example of Darvo? Waiting for you guys to respond. Yes or no? Yes, if one is manipulating. Um, well, I mean, if I am rejecting the observation, then that is manipulation, right? So yes, 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 yes. Okay, got it. I'm not sure what the offender means there. But yes, that is absolutely a form of Darvo. And I think when we think about it, let's go back and think about what the world teaches. The world teaches positive affirmation, but they don't teach the root of it. I'll say again, the world teaches positive affirmations, but they don't teach the root of it. The root of a positive affirmation has to come to a properly formatted identity. Once I have a properly formatted identity, then positive affirmations can work. But at the end of the day, that's what I tell myself, not what I project out to you and try to get you to believe that I am without getting there yet. So if I'm using positive affirmations in that manner, it will work. But I can't make you believe that I'm somebody that my behavior is not convincing you that I am. So say my positive affirmations, but then listening to the feedback that I'm getting from somebody who's close to me because they are seeing behavior in real time. And if I harm myself just enough, I might be able to learn something about myself. And that right there is real time evidence that allows me to make some minor adjustments. So thank you guys for that. Um, so self manipulation is when you internalize manipulative tactics, denying your own flaws, rejecting feedback, seeking new audiences who accept your words over your actions. I want to say this again because I want you guys to imagine how many people in the world today, some you may even know, that actually do this. They manipulate themselves. They have these internalized manipulative tactics. They deny their flaws, they reject feedback, and then they move around and seek new audiences who are willing to accept their words over their own actions. I think that's one of the things that we see all the time, especially in the space of relationship. How do we get to the point in this world today to where we're just in and out of relationship, one after the other, one after the other, one after the other? There has to be a version of self deception that is happening. We're not denying the fact that there are some people out there who are just bona fide manipulators. That's what they taught, that's what they learned growing up, and it is what it is. But let's be honest. Part of the reason why I can see a thing is because probably I used to do it or I became aware of it at an earlier point in time. Because in most cases, most people don't even know that they're being manipulated because the tactics are so good. Let that set in for a second. I can't call this person whatever new term they come up with this day. This person is gaslighting. This person is a narcissist. Whatever. Is it because I am so inclined to that behavior because they're unwilling to accept it from me? And because they're unwilling to accept it from me, now what I'm doing is I am projecting the blame on them because at the end of the day, I wasn't allowed to get my way in their presence. That's something for us to sit and chew on for a second. Carl Jung makes an amazing statement. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. It is what it is. These are the cards that life dealt me. This is, you know, this is just where we grew up at. This is my environment. No, all of those are like words that we're using to make it okay because we're rejecting the thing that we have put into practice. We're rejecting the thing that our behavior is telling us about us. So, again, if you have never heard this phrase, I would write this one down. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So it doesn't really matter what you think you're doing. You can go listen to 150 podcasts a day. You can watch reality TV. You can go look at Oprah. You can look at Sherry. You can look at The View. You can look at all of them. But until you do this right here within yourself, those are just good conversations. They don't mean you any good. Not that the hosts don't mean you any good, but it's the fact that you're still rejecting the thing that's in you simply because you are rejecting the information about you. So until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. 44% of people in self deception studies persist in false beliefs, even after being confronted with evidence. Imagine that. Let's just use this as a sample. What if about 45% of the people that you've ever encountered in your life rejected what they heard about themselves. That's about half of the people that you know reject information that they hear about themselves. So even with the stories that come to you about what's going on in their own personal life, this person wronged me, this person did this, they won't let me get this promotion, they're holding me back because of my ethnicity, they're holding me back because of my gender, all of these different things. You can ideally and honestly probably only really believe half of it because in all honesty, I really just and this is just based upon what I've seen and witnessed, not just in personal life, but in coaching practices. I've seen this happen in real time. And the issue is people like me, they don't like it when you hold the ground based upon the information. And when you hold the ground based upon the information, not what they feel, not what they think about themselves, but the information, the facts that have presented itself in real time. If you hold the ground and not move off that square, they don't like it. And I get it. And two things happen at that point. Two things generally go through a person's mind in that moment, and it is an automatic response. It is wired in your DNA. Whenever you hold that space for that person to own it, to accept responsibility for their own behavior in real time, they're faced with a thing until they come out of their primitive mindset. They're either going to fight or they're going to take flight. One of the two things. So now, when we really stop and think about it, when stuff like that happens in relationships, like I said on Friday night, situationships, whatever type of ship you're on, doesn't it make sense why so many relationships come up, go down, come up, go down, come up, go down? Because they're stuck in their primitive mind. They don't own the reality of their own behavior, and so they choose flight, or they choose fight, and it don't work out well for them. So just kind of let that set in. And as we're talking about this, I want you to ask yourself, how can you tell when you're darvoing yourself? Yeah, I made that up. You're darvoing yourself or denying feedback to protect your false identity. Kind of put that in the comment section. How can I tell when I'm doing it to myself or denying feedback to protect my false identity? Because I think if we can be completely transparent and honest with ourselves, if I know my own little ticks, my own little quirks, my own little automatic responses, right? I give you a great response. And I'm going to talk to myself, y'all. So don't judge me. Dwayne, do you know that every time I come around you, you always go to the bathroom? I don't do that. That's kind of like what we're talking about. Whatever that automatic response is, it's rehearsed, it's practice. It is you denying without even considering what someone is actually saying. So, how can you tell when you're darvoing yourself or denying feedback to protect your own false identity? I'm giving simple, very simple examples today. Don't take that for face value. Always and never is a great response. Anytime people use always and never in a sentence, it is automatically wrong. You guys know that, right? Anytime I use absolute statements, it is automatically wrong. Always, you always do this. You never do this. You always try to find the worst thing. You never buy me flowers for my birthday, stuff like that. So yeah, that's a great one. That's a great one. I'll give you guys a couple more seconds. How can you tell when you're darvoing yourself or denying feedback to protect your false identity? Yes, wrong as two. Absolutely. Wrong is two left feet. And if two left feet is bad if they're attached to, two different people. Just saying. Um, your first your first instinct is to automatically refute the feedback. Yeah, absolutely. If your first instinct is to refute the feedback, put up a wall of defensiveness to protect your own posture, to protect your own ideology of yourself, that is a great example that you are darboing yourself. So thank you guys for sharing it. You guys are awesome. Um, Next question. What does it take to break the cycle of self-deception and embrace authentic feedback? I'm going to start off by saying it takes humility, number one. Part of the reason is that, yeah, absolutely, you do lie to yourself. Part of the reason that I can't take feedback from somebody else is because I think too highly of myself. That's for starters. So the first thing I need to do is humble myself and realize that number one, I don't know everything there is to know, and I don't know everything there is to know about myself. That's the first thing that we need to grasp. I don't know everything there is to know, and I don't know everything there is to know about myself. So feedback is necessary. I need feedback, right? Now, I don't necessarily recommend taking feedback from everybody. I'm just being honest. Do not, I say again, do not accept feedback from everybody because some people don't have the lens to give you the necessary feedback that you need. Now, that's a whole nother conversation, and that is outside of what we're talking about right now. All feedback is not wise feedback, it's not quality feedback. So, just want to kind of share that as we're talking about. I think on top of that, that said, I need to understand how to identify quality feedback. Again, if it comes out sounding like shaming, blaming, name calling, that's not quality feedback. I say again, if it comes out as shaming, blaming, name calling, that's not quality feedback. Now, let me go back and share with you how we got feedback in the Army. Because in the Army, our feedback came laced with some words, some adjectives, adverbs, and superlatives. It had a little spice on it too, but it was very quality feedback. I think we have told ourselves this lie that if a person adds some flavor to the gumbo when they're giving me feedback, then to reject the feedback. I wouldn't do that. I don't recommend that because you're rejecting the fact that if this person is adding a little flavor to the feedback, they're only expressing how your behavior is interacting with them. And if you can't take in response what you're dishing out, then it might be good that you stop dishing it out, right? Just accept the feedback. Accept the feedback, think about it, consider it, identify where you do it, identify the triggers that make you do it, and then make the necessary change according to feedback. Discover the path to make the right change, not just make a change, make the right change. That's important. Now, that said, I think it's time for our next poll, and I want you guys to really, really, really dig deep because I want to get personal, and I mean when I say that with love. I want to get personal here. We talked about how DARVO'd works when someone else is doing it. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." So right now, I want you to be honest with yourself, not with me, with you. Which one of these voices do you fight the most? The poll is live. Again, which one of these inner voices do you fight the most? Be brave enough to tell yourself the truth. Okay. The first one, number one, is by denying my own memory or the truth. Two parts of it. Either you deny your own memory or you deny the truth. Number two, attack my character. My inner critic is attacking my character. Okay. Number three, I'm accepting blame for a thing that's not my fault. And number four, I minimize my pain by saying it'll be all right. It'll be better, so forth and so on. Okay. So again, be brave enough to give us an answer. Number one, deny my own memory or the truth. Attacking my character, my inner critic. Number three, accepting blame when it's not my fault. And number four, minimizing my pain because I believe it will get better. You guys a few more seconds to respond. All right. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for your response. Greatly appreciate them. You guys are awesome. I love it. I love it. Keep them coming. Again, if you have not hit that like button, go ahead and hit that like button. If you have not shared this with somebody who you think will find this beneficial, um, yeah, go ahead and share this. Also, again, while we're doing the poll, remember this is the community support program QR code up there. Anything that you give to this community, we greatly appreciate that. Everything that is given back to this community in a form one way or the other. So thank you guys And yeah, thank you, Crystal Everett. As always, greatly appreciate your support. Okay. Now, as you guys answered, I think you guys have all answered again. Thank you for doing so. I want you to understand something because when we look at these, it's like I can look at this and I think one of them is, how can I say it? It feels like some of these answers are less wrong than the other. And I'll give you a perfect example. Denying my own memory sounds less wrong than denying the truth. Attacking my character by the voice of my inner critic sounds less wrong than attacking somebody else's character. Accepting blame when it's not my fault sounds less wrong than blaming somebody else for something that's not their fault. Number four, minimizing my pain, it'll be better, sounds less wrong than me inflicting pain on somebody else. But here's the resounding truth. Every single one of those answers is rooted in the same lie that you are less than what God says you are. That voice, whether it denies, attacks, blame, or minimizes, is not your voice. It was handed to you. And today we're giving it back because Romans 12 and 2, which again is my favorite scripture, says that we are to be transformed by the renewing of our mind, not defeated by recycling of someone else's wound. That someone else could be mama, could be daddy, it could be grandma, it could be granddaddy, it could be auntie who I spent more time with. It doesn't really matter, right? It was gifted to you and you took it as though it was a Christmas present. Okay. So the question becomes, how do we break free from that loop? That's consciousness, I believe, comes in. There's a level of awareness, a threshold, if you will, that once you cross it, manipulation loses its grip. Now, let's talk about the law of transformation and what it really takes to step into that version of yourself God called you to be, which takes us to talking point number three: consciousness and awareness, the law of transformation. Now, manipulation thrives in the unknown when you're unconscious, right? Both in the abuser and the abuser. I say it again. Manipulation thrives in the unknown, in the unconscious, both in the abuser and the abused. That said, over 85% of the global population operates below the level of courage. Now, if you're not familiar with what we're talking about, a couple of weeks ago, a while back now, I showed you guys a chart. And on that chart by Dr. Hawthorne, he showed these different um these different virtues, and these virtues had a number assigned to it. So below the virtue of courage is where we are less of who we are created to be. But once we get the 200 and above, now we start to getting into the person that we were created to be. We get to the point of thriving and all of that other great stuff. Based upon this study, 85% of the global population operates below the level of courage, making them more likely to fall into patterns of victimhood, manipulation, and self doubt. Let that set in for a second. How many, how many people, to include ourselves, how many people do we know have been raised to such a degree to where we're not at the level of courage? We're below the level of courage. We're in the space of blaming, in the space of shaming, in the space of being a victim, thinking it's always somebody else's fault. It's always a different circumstance. These people won't let me be great, right? Doing this thing and they're doing this thing and it's affecting me. But yet I haven't done the most important thing that I need to do as it pertains to me. And that's taking ownership of my own life. So I think that's something that we all should consider because until we do that, I'm to always be below the threshold of courage, which means I don't have any other choice but to blame something or someone else. Now, that said, how can you raise your level of consciousness after years of manipulation? Not just manipulation coming from external to you, but manipulation that is happening internal to you. I say again, how can you raise your level of consciousness after years of manipulation? When we hear the word manipulation, we automatically think external. When we're supposed to think internal first. When do I stop manipulating myself? When do I stop deceiving myself, making myself believe that where I am right now in my life is the best that I can do? Coming up with every excuse under the sun about why I can see the promised land and I've been invited into the promised land, but I believe that if I take one step towards the promised land, something's going to happen. Something's going to happen that's external to me. Somebody's going to attack me. Somebody's going to look at me and say, I don't belong here. Somebody's going to look at me and ask me, well, who invited you? So forth and so on. How can you raise your level of consciousness after years of manipulation? Well, for me, I would have to say it has to start with a voice that is external to yours. If I can't hear a voice that is external to mine, then the only voice that I'm hearing is the one that keeps recycling in my head. I'm not talking about podcasts. I'm not talking about, TV shows, and I'm not talking about radio shows, talk hosts, and things. I'm not talking about them because they are not your accountability partners. You would never have to see them again after listening to what you just said. I do like that. I do like that thought. Throw yourself on the altar. I do. But here's the deal. I won't even stay on the altar because at the end of the day, I think that God is doing something to me as opposed to doing something through me. See, it has to be a change in the way that I think because everything now is against me. And you've heard it. Y'all have heard it. The devil's been busy today. He been after me all day. Really? I beg to differ. You've been after you all day. That's generally the first thing that goes to my mind when I hear people say that. I may not say it out loud to them because I understand what they're saying, but that's literally the first thing that comes to my mind. So listening to your own voice is not going to be the thing to get you outside of it. In fact, you're going to have a way, a means to break the cycle, to break the loop of the words that you're saying to yourself. Because once that happens, then it's going to be like, oh, and some of you are familiar with this already. You have these automatic responses built in. And your automatic response may be, I always, I never, I can't, stuff like that. And it has to be somebody there that cares enough about you to say you can't. Oh. No, I didn't mean can't. I'm working on, okay. So somebody has, because again, you have to realize that at this level, at this stage, you're still working off of unconscious habits. And those unconscious habits just keep doing this right here. There is the problem. There is the problem. See, you're still not getting it. You are the toxic influence. That's the point that I'm trying to get everybody to understand. It's not external. It's me. Okay, let me ask it like this. What if I come across a manipulator? That's all they do is manipulate. In fact, they're known to be a manipulator, but they've never gotten to the point of manipulating me. Why is it that this person could not manipulate me? Because once you break that threshold, you become unmanipulatable. And not only that, if you were the manipulator, now you stop manipulating. That's the point that I'm getting at. So we can't get to the point of hearing the word manipulating and always defaulting back to someone else. It can't begin with someone else. There has to be a version of me that recognize that this relationship that I'm in and this person is a manipulator. Something attracted me to that person. I say again, something attracted me to that person. So I can't blame that person for me being attracted to them. I have to look in the mirror and own every version of me that is either a manipulator or a manipulator magnet. That's the key. I can't always point it out. I can't say that these people are doing this, these people are doing that, and these people are doing this. Because every time I do that, I am rejecting the possibilities that I should have been preparing myself so when that time comes, it doesn't affect me. And I'm talking large scale at this point. You guys can read between the lines. You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking large scale decision makers to where at the end of the day, they don't even talk to me about the decisions that they make. But yet we spend a ginormous amount of time talking about them as though anything is going to change based upon the conversation we're talking about. Why? That's the key. So we have to get to that point of recognizing that if I want manipulation to stop, it starts within first. Whether I am the manipulator or I am in a manipulative cycle. And trust me when I tell you, a lot of us are in a self manipulation cycle to where we can't get out of our own way. Therefore, everything that we do, we can almost script out the story because we're going to recreate the same environment. Wherever we go, you can move from this state to this state. And like my grandmother used to say, just give time. You'll see the same thing again. That's the thing. So now there has to be a new belief that I have to embody, a new belief that I have to embrace, a new belief that I lean into and make that my new reality. I love what you're saying there. Atlas said keys to keys, realty. She put RAS, the reticular activating system. That is a huge factor in this, right? But it has to be something that goes below that to actually ignite it, right? So has to be a belief. It has to be a belief. I think here's what I believe, and I say this, and I think I'm okay by saying this because I got a house full of people that are very smart and they believe it. So we can talk about this a little bit. This is what I believe. A lot of us say that we believe a thing, but we really don't believe the thing that we say that we believe because there's no evidence to support the thing that we say that we believe. Let that sit in for a second. We say that we believe a thing, but we don't have the relevant evidence to support the thing that we believe. I say that I love the Most High God, but yet my behavior doesn't reflect that because I'm cursing out the people at the grocery store because they put my eggs in with my bleach. Everybody know that's a no. That's a no go. You don't put the eggs in the same bag as the bleach. I made that up. I don't think nobody would ever do that, but I'm just saying. So you done cussed out the poor person at work. They were having a bad day, and you just made it worse. How can I say that I believe that I am a believer? I trust and love the Most High, but yet this is what I'm displaying. So there has to be a belief, a thing that I believe so deeply that it changes the way that I behave, not just internally, but externally. I can't do it externally until I do it internally, right? It changes the way I actually think, the way I speak, the way I talk, the way I walk. So now the question that I have for you is what new beliefs about yourself and your worth do you need to break free? Stop. Before you answer that, do not dive back into the mundane positive affirmation statements, right? Do not dive back into that. We're talking real work here. We're talking real change because that stuff sounds good for medium. I'm talking about what new beliefs about yourself and your worth do you need to embrace? Not want to embrace, not heard somebody else say it, so I'm going to say it too. What do you need to embrace to break free from? What is the thing that I'm tied to? Not person. See, again, this is where we always try to make it about a person. I need to get out this relationship with this guy because he's toxic. No, you toxic. You just as toxic as he is. That's why you still around him, and vice versa. What new thing do you need to embrace about yourself? Not about that person, about yourself. See, we haven't even gotten to the boundaries yet. Because I know that's the first thing that we want. I need to embrace, creating boundaries. Not yet. You ain't ready to create boundaries yet. You're going to create the wrong type of boundaries. And you're going to turn around and use boundaries as a weapon. Why? Because you're still manipulating. That's why. What new beliefs do I need to believe about myself and my worth, right? In order to break free from this self-manipulation thing, this manipulating other people as well. Because trust me, if I manipulate myself, I guarantee I manipulate other people. It's inevitable. Why? Because it's happening inside first. Therefore, it must happen outside. So now, what new beliefs Do I really go to the word and look at what he says about me and then embrace that, embody that? But how do I do that when I don't have any relevant evidence in my own environment, my upbringing, my parents, my cousins, my siblings? None of them have shown me, or we haven't, that wasn't how we were raised. How can I believe that I can do all of these things that the Bible said I can do? So you have to sit down and be honest with yourself, look in the mirror and say, what new beliefs about myself and my worth do I need to embrace to break free? Because once you can do that, then we can jump to talking point number 4, which is all about the biblical framework of truth, discernment, and spiritual warfare. Make no mistake about it. That's what we're talking about. We've been talking about that since we started this conversation. Scripture provides both the diagnosis and the cure for manipulation. Truth, discernment, and spiritual boundaries are your weapons in spiritual warfare. See, we've been getting it confused because we keep listening to the world system. The world system say, "Hey, I gotta, create some boundaries." But what do I create my boundaries based upon? You create your boundaries based upon what you want and what you're thinking. It's a deal breaker for a person to tell me a lie. Is it a deal breaker for you to lie? I'm just asking simple questions. It's a deal breaker for this person to, spend X amount of money. Is it a deal breaker for you to spend X amount? These are things that we got to be honest with ourselves about, right? So when we go back and look at it, we got to recognize these things. Isaiah 5:20 tells me something that's very interesting. It says, woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness. Do you know how long we've been doing this? I'm gonna ask again. Do you realize how long we've been doing this? We will call a thing evil good. Pay attention. It's all around. In fact, we celebrate. We got a month for some of that stuff, right? We'll call a thing that is evil good, and we'll call what is good evil. We will take the structure that the Most High has given to us and then demonize it and say, well, oh, that doesn't apply to this. It's a new day, it's a new age. That doesn't apply now. Why not? Principles are timeless. Principles permeate. They don't ever stop. The law is the law is the law. And I'm not talking man-made law. So when we understand these things, it changes. Faith-based interventions reduce the risk of returning to abusive relationships by up to 40%. Look at it like this. Let's just say, hypothetically speaking, right? We're going to go back to the common way of thinking about manipulation. Let's just say this person was in a relationship and the other person was manipulating them. Okay. Then they decided, like, no more. I'm not doing this anymore. So they say, hey, I need some help. I need to sit down with my, thank you, Lisa. I need to sit down with my counselor, my coach, whatever the case may be, and I need to work my way beyond that. Now, I will tell you guys a story about counseling versus coaches here in a second, but I'm not going to do it right now. And they sat down, they worked their way out of it and plot a new beginning. Counselor won't do that. I say again, plot a new beginning, a way forward. Well, that said, that person is 40% less likely to be attracted to an individual that uses those manipulative tactics that this individual showed them in the past. This is an important thing for us to understand. 40%. Any time that you can up the percentage of success, up the percentage of success. It doesn't make sense when we get certain, and I'll call it what it is. We get information about where success lies statistically, and we'll say, thank you for that. I'm gonna stay over here. That doesn't pass a common sense test to me. So that said, the question that you have to ask yourself and be honest with yourself as it pertains to the answer, does your faith help you discern truth from manipulation? And if so, how? This is a very interesting question. This goes back to what I was just saying. If I'm If I don't have the relevant behavior to support the thing that I say I believe, then how on God's green earth can I be honest with myself about what I say I believe? The Bible says that now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. The evidence that I do see in the here and now is the behavior that I display for the thing that I call myself hoping for. So if my actions today aren't pointed at a future outcome, I don't believe in that future outcome. I don't care what you or anybody else says. If the behavior doesn't support it, it doesn't exist. Give a perfect example. Simple. I want to be a doctor. If I want to be a doctor, a medical doctor, then I need to go to medical school. I'm not going to medical school. I don't really want to be a doctor. I'm just running my mouth and hoping I can get into a conversation where you guys think I'm a great person just simply because I want to help people. That's what we do all the time. My faith must be lined up with the hope. And everything along that line, as it pertains to the thing that I hope for, is truth. Anything outside of it is lying deception. So then I reject all of this on the outside for the thing that I'm hoping for because my faith has me fixed if I'm locked in. If not, then I'm distracted. But I'm not distracted by the things on the outside. I'm distracted because of the thing on the inside. How did it get my attention? Because I don't really believe in the thing that I say I wanted. I'm just talking about it. What does spiritual warfare look like in the context of emotional abuse? This is what I want y'all to sit with. I don't want you to answer it right now. I want you to sit with this one because this one is key. And I'm going to give you a little nugget as you think about it. Remember, we aren't at war against flesh and blood. I'm going to start with that one. Well, if emotional abuse is a manipulative tactic, then why am I trying to blame the flesh and blood for manipulating me when there's something inside of me? Come on now. Yeah, come on. Yeah. I want y'all to really sit with this one. If you've ever been in a manipulative situation, whether you're the manipulator, and trust me, that's most of us, because we manipulate ourselves all the time. Why do I say that? Because we call ourselves believers, and yet okay, you get it. Sit with this one. What does spiritual warfare look like in the context of emotional abuse? And I really want you to come up with an answer. I really want you to process this because when you really, really think into this and don't limit yourself to the surface level response that you'll get, you're about to learn something about yourself. I really do believe that. You're about to learn something that is deep rooted about you. What does spiritual warfare look like in the context of emotional abuse? Okay. That takes us to talking point number 5. Y'all bear with me for a few more minutes. I got some stuff I really need to give y'all. So we might go a little over tonight. I hope you guys don't mind. Okay. Talking point number 5, practical steps to reclaiming your reality. First and foremost, I want to share with you guys naming the pattern, setting boundaries, and seeking support are essential for healing and reclaiming your reality. I want to kind of make this make sense because sometimes when we see certain things, we change the context in our head. The word essential means no fail. It means it is a lifeline. It is a life support. It's like going to the hospital and then they have to intubate you. That intubator is the thing that is helping you breathe. It is a lifeline. That's what this is really telling you. Naming the pattern, setting the boundaries, and seeking support are essential for healing and reclaiming your reality. Eleanor Roosevelt said this: no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Sounds familiar, don't it? They weren't manipulating you. you gave them permission to manipulate you. You actually gave them the key to manipulating you. You actually told them, believe it or not, how to do so. Yeah, I meant that. You actually told them how to manipulate you. Because in some cases, and I hate to say this out loud, but somebody needs to say it. In some cases, you find, I don't want to say comfort, but you're accustomed to it. It's like, it's like someone saying, if my girl don't act jealous, she don't really care about me. No, that's a lie. That's not a true statement. You cannot, you should not open yourself up and be a manipulated person a manipulative person to such a degree that you manipulate yourself and then you teach people how to manipulate others and then blame them for manipulating you, because that's really what happens a lot of times when it comes down to DARVO'd. Okay. Victims who document incidents and seek outside support are twice as likely to escape ongoing manipulating. Now, hold on. Now, wait a minute. We done heard 50% on this one and 40% on the previous. Victims who document incidents and seek outside support are twice as likely to escape ongoing manipulation. So now, when we start talking this question coming up, it looks different. What boundaries can you set today to protect your reality? See, you don't set boundaries against people. And I don't know why we believe that I set boundaries to keep people out. No, I set boundaries to protect what's in. I put a fence around my house, not to keep people out of it, but to protect what's in it. Somebody said, oh, that's just a play on word. It's the same thing. If that's how you want to see it. The fence is the boundary is always to protect what's inside it. I need to know where my limits end. If not, I'm going to try to protect something that goes outside of my property line. Now I'm infringing on someone else's property. Once I start infringing on somebody else's property, now we have issues. I've just trespassed. And then that person is going to come to me and talk to me about crossing their line, crossing their boundary. And then I'm going to argue to defend it because it's mine, in my mind. So that's how this works. When we understand what boundaries are and we set boundaries according to the right metric, we never have to worry about being manipulated, and we never manipulate another person. We just let adults make decisions. And when adults make decisions, we are 100% okay with the decisions that they make. Now, if that's the case, then how can documenting your experiences help you resist being gaslit or DARVO'd? Okay. I think objectivity matters, because it's not that what I'm writing down helps me to remember what actually happened. What I'm writing down helps me to see how I processed it. I say it again. It's not that writing it down helps me to remember what actually happened. Writing it down helps me to see how I'm processing it. Are they doing a thing against me, or am I doing it to myself and blaming them for it? Because if I don't take the time to understand that, I'm going to keep doing the thing and blaming them for it. And I'm creating an environment of impossible success when it comes down to somebody that I am DARVOing, even if I'm only DARVOing myself. And I'm saying that as only, but it's real. We have to keep that in mind. And so what I promise you is that I did not want to let you get out of here without giving you some steps. And I think these steps are important. And I want to give you two types of steps, right? I want to give you one for the manipulator, right? And then one for the manipulated. So first and foremost, let's talk about for the individuals who are exhibiting manipulative or self-deceptive patterns. Thank you, Crystal. Listen, do not forget to scan that QR code if you are finding value in this discussion. So Pay attention. These are the steps. Um, yeah, these are the steps for those people who are exhibiting manipulative or self deceptive pattern. Step one is to cultivate self awareness. You keep a journal to track moments of denial, blame shifting, or self victimization. Notice patterns without shame. That's why I said you're not writing it down to remember, you're writing it down to see how you're processing it. Step number two is practice radical accountability. Use the four R's: recognize, reflect, repair, recommit, apologize sincerely, and make amends. Step three, interrupt the DARVO'd pattern. When you feel defensive, pause. Name the urge to deny or attack and choose a different response. Step number four, embrace self compassion. Speak to yourself as you would a friend. Challenge the belief that you must be perfect to be loved. Step number five, engage in transformative therapy. Seek professional support. CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, schema therapy, or DBT, to address deep rooted patterns. Again, different techniques to do very similar things. Okay. Step number six, build accountability structures. Share your goals for change with a trusted friend, mentor, or support group. Okay. Again, these steps are for people who are exhibiting manipulative or self deceptive patterns. Now, next, we want to share the 6 steps for individuals affected by control and manipulation. That said, step number one, set and enforce boundaries. Use clear, non defensive language to state what you will and will not accept. Step number two, anchor in reality. This is huge. Keep a written record of incidents and your emotional responses. Seek validation from trusted friends or therapists. Let me say this: validation, I think some people kind of have mixed thoughts about. Validation is them not making you feel comfortable about the thing that you feel. It's just saying that it exists. It's just saying, yep, I can see that. That's all it is. I think we expect a little bit more than what it really is. Okay. Um, where did I leave off at? Anchor in reality. Okay. Reclaim your sense of self. Identify and challenge the belief that your worth depends on pleasing others. Practice self compassion and values clarification. Step number four, pursue trauma recovery. Engage in trauma focused therapy, CBT, DBT, or EMDR, and faith based support to heal and build resilience. Five, break free from people pleasing. Name the patterns, validate your need, practice saying no, and celebrate progress. And six, seek community support. Healing happens in community. Reach out to support groups, faith communities, and professional counselors. So, those were the things that I really wanted to give you guys for this evening. Here's the deal, bottom line up front: 80% of survivors benefit from therapies that include cognitive restructuring and emotional resilience building. Let that set in. 80%. Faith based interventions, I say again, faith based interventions reduce the risk of returning abusive relationships by 40%. And lastly, victims who document incidents and seek outside support are twice as likely to escape ongoing manipulation. Why does all of this matter? If, how can I say it? Anyone who's ever walked away from the conversation feeling small or more confused and burdened by guilt that was never yours to carry, you need to know this. You're not crazy and you're not in this alone. Manipulation at its finest, especially in the form of Darvo, is designed to shame and fear. But as you raise your awareness, embrace the truth, and step into courage, you begin to see through the fog. And once you do that, You can reclaim your power, set boundaries, and walk in the freedom that is your birthright in Christ. Now, I want to close by saying this because we've talked a lot. And again, thank you guys who've given to doing this conversation. If you find value in this conversation, by all means, share it with somebody who can benefit from this information. I believe that we have the best community on the planet. I really do believe that. I believe we have a group of people who care about each other. They're rooted in God's word, and they're not doing it for any self glorification or accolades that they really want. They're doing it because they believe that they're doing it as of service to the Lord. So if you are out there and you are looking for a community that is authentic, a community who genuinely cares, I invite you to join this community. Come back, and it's bigger than just podcasting. I think that's where a lot of people miss. I think a lot of people believe that our engagement ends at the screen. It does not. Our engagement goes deeper than that. We talk about the Word of God. We share experiences. We provide support to one another. So I want to make sure I'm sharing that with you. That said, listen, you guys are awesome. I greatly appreciate your time, your energy, and your efforts. Greatly appreciate all your feedback. I know I didn't get a chance to call a lot of your comments off, but as you see, we had a lot to uncover, and we hitting about an hour and 15 minutes. So that said, listen, you guys have a phenomenal rest of your evening. And as always, let the best version of yourself be a blessing to somebody else. And we'll see you guys next week on Coach's Corner.
Do your thing. Fresh out the house, got the beat on suicide as I ride up and down Martin Luther King Drive. Standing tall, looking down on the bloody boy, snitching all day. I look around on